Hello everyone, I am Wendy with Winds of Change Ministries. I know it's been a while, but I wanted to do a quick show for the Lion's Gate. So today is it's August 8th, and it's almost 8 o'clock. And so anyway, yes, let's try to get this video made for you guys. So what has been on my heart to talk about is some of the problems that society have with, today is the fact that we have a lot of godless people in the world, right? They're godless. And so let's address why we have this problem. Why do so many people reject God? And the core issue is we have father wounds. God the Father, he he is a special character, I can tell you that, having interacted with him in the dream state many times. He is wonderful and terrifying and loving and a whole lot, okay? And there are a lot of people who have father wounds with God the Father. And that's why we live in a godless society. So, what are some of the reasons why people have father wounds? Well, number one, some people would say that his rules are too challenging. They're just too stinking difficult. It's the rebellious nature within us that push against being ruled over. Okay? And so this is all about perception. And so those rules that we have, like the 10 Commandments and everything, a lot of people say, "Oh, they're too hard. I can't handle that." Da 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 da, and they just rebel. One of the problems in the Bible is that they replaced the name of God with a title that is a false interpretation. They say the Lord. They call him the Lord. And that's actually a false interpretation. And that also contributes to the rebellious nature within us, okay? Because no one wants to be lorded over. But actually, the sacred name means that he exists. And if more of us realize that God truly exists, then I want you to hear that buzzing, okay? I've been trying to make this video for about an hour and a half, and they just keep buzzing. And so I can't find my little speaker muzzle thingy. I've had all kinds of trouble because it's been so long since I've made videos, and I misplaced them somewhere. So yeah, all kinds of distractions because this is such a powerful message. Okay, so please ignore the noise. But and that's true. There's a lot of noise in the world, right? No one wants to hear the messages of God. And so the name of God doesn't mean that that he's the Lord. It means he exists. And if more people actually truly understood that he exists, they would try to be more obedient to his instructions. Okay? So, and another thing is, English Bibles call his teachings, the Torah, they call them the laws. And that goes back to no one wants to be lorded over. But it's not, yes, they're house rules. They're the house rules, okay? And if you want to live in God's protection, you have to follow the rules, okay? They are guidelines, okay? And I'm reminded of the prodigal son. The prodigal son wanted his inheritance. He went out and he squandered it, sleeping with this person and that person, and drinking, and, he wasted his inheritance. That's the prodigal son. But the moment he came back and was willing to live in his father's house, following his father's rules, he, of course, was welcomed back with open arms. So anyway, we do have a very forgiving Father. He just wants you to follow the rules. It's that simple. All right. So, what is another reason why people don't? They have father issues. They have father wounds. Well, it's the sense of abandonment. Okay. Now, I have a personal relationship with God the Father, and so, I love Him a lot, and we interact. But even sometimes I feel like He's abandoned me because He allows things to test us. All right. I watched, and it's so funny. I was watching something on Instagram. It was a Middle Eastern guy. I don't know what he was saying to his little baby. He was speaking, I believe, Arabic, and he was standing at one side of the living room, filming his little baby, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years old, wearing a onesie of a dinosaur, a golden dinosaur. Anyway, and this little baby was climbing up onto the couch, walking across a very loose pillowed couch arm, and then reaching about a foot across, basically having to fall forward to be able to reach the edge of a dining table, and then have to lift himself up onto that dining table. So he had to lean forward and then lift himself up. And mind you, this baby was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years old. And I sat there and watched this poor little baby fall down several times trying to get up. All right. And the father was just there. I didn't know what he was saying in Arabic. I heard a little bit of crying, so from the baby, some whimpering. So I'm sure he was giving the baby some encouragement. So then the baby, he over and over, and that's kind of like life, right? We just loop and do the same things over and over and over and over until he finally, we are successful, and we accomplish, we learn a lesson, we figure something out, and then we are able to accomplish this obstacle in life. And that baby, after falling like 7 or 8 times, did eventually successfully make it up on top of the table. And when he did, he climbed he crawled to the middle of the table, he sat down, looked at his dad. So he finally made it. Excuse me, I was coughing. My eyes are all watering now. So he finally made it. He crawled into the middle of this table, and his dad congratulated him. I don't speak Arabic, but I could tell that he said something nice, like "yay," and then he said something else to the baby. And so the baby, he crawled towards his dad and looked and kind of peeked over the edge of the table, and then started to cry. And I am sure that the dad was saying, "Okay, now you made it up there. It's time to get down." And, that poor baby is like, "What? You gave me one challenge, and now I have, to face my fears. And now I'm up here. And it's even more scary, the thought of getting down." So, but, and I couldn't help but think that is just how God is. He steps back, and he puts us through, life is challenging, right? And God just sits there and lets us do it. If we succeed, wonderful. If we don't, okay, well, just keep doing it again. Just keep doing it again. And life seems very harsh, right? As we learn these life lessons. And so this goes back to some of our father wounds. So, because it's very true that when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I was so aggravated with that father. But then I recognized that that's what God does, right? That's what He does. And so it is a father's nature to do that. And I have, in my dream state, I have been a silent observer with Yahushua, Jesus, right? And watching situations, just being a silent observer. So I know exactly what it looks like to be on the other end of just being an observer, kind of kind of like what God does. I've done that in my dreams, so I know. And anyway, yes, we all suffer some father wounds with God the Father. But when we recognize that these tests are made to toughen us up, right? And he's very happy when we pass the tests. When we realize this, then, we get to advance to a new level. He was on the arm of the couch, that little baby was. Then he went up onto a higher level, onto the to the table. Okay, so when we pass these challenges, we level up. It's like in a video game. All right, and God is there to observe and watch it all. Anyway, but back to my point. The reason why the world is a mess is because we have a lot of godless people who reject God's instructions. All right, and if they recognize that those rules were put in place so that we could live a more fruitful and abundant life, then their attitude would be a lot different. All right, they're not, yes, they're rules, but they're for our benefit. They're guidelines. Okay. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Okay, what does that prevent? It prevents the spread of STDs. It prevents unwanted pregnancies. Okay, so what do people do when they have unwanted pregnancies? They usually terminate them. Well, not in the past, more and more now, right? So, and that leads to thou shalt not murder, right? So they kind of pile up. And when we do those things, they actually build negative karma. It doesn't matter what man-made law allows and doesn't allow. It doesn't matter, okay, what man-made law says is okay and what is not okay. It matters what God says is okay and what is not okay. And killing anything is bad karma. All right, ending life is bad karma. So. Anyway, yes, there's a lot of godlessness. God wants, he wants us to, heal that childhood wound, to see that these challenges in life are not punishment, unless, of course, you're paying off some karma, okay? But they are challenges to help us become better people, all right? All right, so that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a wonderful Lionsgate portal today. And I'm going to try to get this video up as soon as possible. But my internet has been, it has not been working in my house at all today. And my cell phone is off and on, the internet, okay? It's because of all of this solar wind coming through, okay? The solar wind coming through. And anyway, it has glitched a lot of things. Okay, that's it. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.